Alrighty, I believe that we are live. What's up, everybody? Another sponsorship live. This week we're going to be talking to longtime Impact sponsored athlete Emil Fisher. Thanks for joining us, Emil. We appreciate it.
How's it going, guys?
It's going well. How are you?
Just trying to do my job here while I talk to you guys.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I run a small PVD coating company here in Cleveland.
Gotcha. Yeah, we spend a lot of time in Ohio, so I think, as you know, we've tried a couple times to get together, but next time we're up there, we're definitely going to have to make that happen.
For sure, man. I know you came up here for the honor fights a few months ago, or like a year ago, actually, and I think I was out of town or busy that weekend or something.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's been a year already, but here we are.
Yeah.
It's
been a crazy. Time flies when you're forced into a routine.
Exactly. And how has your routine changed over the last 6 or 8 months with COVID?
I basically I didn't train for a couple months, and then now I'm kind of back. I would say mostly back to normal. When I train, I generally have a fairly small circle that I train with as it is, and so I was already kind of suited for the situation.
Right.
But it's just been an annoyance. It's been like an extra little hindrance.
How's it been in the gym? Has it been is it back to full capacity, or is it kind of 25%, 50%?
I mean, it's pretty much back to full capacity. They're going through some motions, like you have to wear a mask when you enter the gym and when you leave the gym, things like that. I mean, I don't know how effective that is in actually helping with disease prevention, but that's the policy.
Got to follow the policy. And your circle of training partners, they're all back?
For the most part, yeah.
Now, you train pretty widely, though. You used to, at least used to travel quite a bit for training and seminars and so forth. Not so much now, right?
I've been actually doing a bit more traveling now because I have access to a very, very elite group of competitors that I was invited to come train with that are about 2 hours away from here. So I go there once a week to train with them, but it's like, again, it's a very small group of people, and they're extremely cautious. One of the guys is ranked in the top 10 pound-for-pound grapplers in the world right now. So, I mean, they need to stay healthy. But I've been trying to get as much time in as I can on weekends with them.
Congratulations on getting that invitation.
It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. When is the next event on the calendar, if there is any?
End of September, I'm going to be defending my Zapatero Invitational light heavyweight title. I'm going to be going against Keith Prekorian, who is an 80cc vet, took silver at the East and West Coast 80cc trials back in 2018. Perhaps one of the best competitors under that rule set, and I'm going against them. So it'll be interesting.
That's exciting. Yeah, you'll have to let us know the exact date and send us pictures afterwards so we could throw it up onto the Instagram and Facebook pages.
September 26th, down in Florida. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. So we've got one question for you already, and that's from Alex, and he's asking, are you doing Panz?
Am I doing Panz? No. I'm not going to compete in amateur tournaments right now unless they're local. Panz is an amateur tournament. There's no cash prize to win. The risk to me is higher than the potential reward. So, no.
Yeah. So under normal circumstances, you would, but now you're not going to.
No, I wouldn't do gi pans under normal circumstances anyways, because again, it's an amateur tournament. The cost to me versus the potential reward of winning it's not worth it. Even during completely normal time, I'll do no gi pans and no gi worlds, but in the gi, you know, it's in my opinion, that's money that I'm wasting. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've been with Impact for a long time now, since 2016 or so. How long before that did you start training? How long have you been into jiu-jitsu?
I've been doing jiu-jitsu since 1999.
Nice.
Good long time.
Yeah, very long time. And it looks like another question kind of popped in from Alex, and it says F2W. I'm not too sure what that means to you.
Fight to win.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm the current Fight to Win Masters light heavyweight champ. I actually just challenged for the adult light heavyweight title a couple weeks ago. Unfortunately, I was on the losing end of a decision, but getting it sub, you know, it was a tough match. But I'll do Fight to Wins if they're able to help me with travel. It just happened to be that event was my birthday weekend, so I figured that I would enjoy it, try to win another title and see what happens.
Alex says thank you, Emil.
And you might know Alex Avedikin. Do you know him? Alex Avedikin?
No.
From Minnesota?
Nope.
Yep, he's joined us. No, he's aware of who you are. So, Alex, thanks very much for the questions. We appreciate it. Keep them coming if you've got more. So you started jiu-jitsu back in 1999. What was your vision when you started?
I was 14 years old. I was a kid. I just kind of, you know, I've been doing martial arts since I was 8. I was exposed to grappling probably about a year before I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Just kind of, I don't even know how to describe it. Basically, I was training in a karate type club that wound up kind of going off the rails and doing something a bit more MMA style, I guess. And from there, it developed. So I was just kind of doing it for fun. I didn't really start training seriously or competing until 2011. That's 12 years later.
Gotcha.
I just always liked grappling, and then in 2011, I actually started competing, put the gi on, you know, started actually training.
Yeah, so you've obviously been at this for a while now. When did you kind of realize that you could start getting sponsors and have companies behind you?
2014 or 2015, early 2015. As late as a white belt, I started writing for TexasMMA.com and began to get a bunch of writing opportunities. And as a writer, you know, companies wanted, so there were a couple companies that were willing to work with me because of my increased exposure. And then from there it kind of developed.
So your first sponsorship opportunity, do you remember who that was with?
I mean, as far as sponsors go, I think the first company that ever offered me sponsorship was Cruise Combat. They make custom patches and custom gear.
Yeah.
They basically I reached out to them because I saw them on social media, and they were like, yeah, we'll sponsor you. And they were just making patches for me. I mean, that fell through pretty quickly. And my first gear sponsor would have been Pony Club grappling gear. And then I also had Gladiator soap early on. Pony Club grappling gear is no longer in business. Gladiator soap, I don't know what's going on with them, but I'm currently working with Defense Soap. That's the current soap company I'm working with.
Gotcha. Yeah, every athlete needs some soap, don't they? And they've got some pretty good products. If you can make an introduction to them for us, we'd love to have them on and talk about, from their perspective, sponsored athletes and their sponsored athlete program.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, another question from Alex. He's asking, do you do any judo or wrestling? And if not, what do you do for stand-up training?
I train at Strong Style MMA in Cleveland, Ohio. I have multiple training partners that are elite wrestlers. Also several judo black belts to work with. So when I work on stand-up, which I don't do a whole heck of a lot of it because most of the events that I try to compete in, I try to compete in events that pay out cash prizes, and most of them actually go by some sort of a submission-only rule set. So for me, it's actually a waste of time and energy to try to, dick measure with an opponent on who's got better wrestling when I can just sit down and then the opponent's going to go ahead and engage because it's submission only.
So you like to take it right down to the mat.
I mean, there's no reason not to in that setting.
Emil, now that all the sports are kind of back, have you been watching a certain sport in particular?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Now that pretty much all the sports are back, have you been watching any sports in particular?
I'll watch grappling events sometimes when they happen, especially if my friends are on them.
Mm-hmm.
They had a Zapatero qualifier for their 155-pound tournament, and my buddy Joe Bays was on that, and he secured the heavyweight title. He was actually my opponent when I secured the light heavyweight title back in 2019. So I'll watch grappling events, and I've watched a few of the UFC events.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, not much.
Yeah, we're super excited that sports are back here. A big purpose that we have this Facebook group is kind of to help people get sponsored, not only with Impact, but with all other companies with whatever sport they're in. What kind of tips and tricks would you give to the athlete that is watching this?
I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. What Impact offers is not really a true sponsorship. It's more of a product endorsement or a brand ambassadorship. Sponsorship involves money. Sponsorship is an exchange of cash for representation. Anything short of that is going to be something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I've always appreciated Impact's product, believe that, it's a product I could stand behind, and I recommend it to all of my students and friends. When you get sponsored or when you get a quote-unquote sponsorship, regardless of what it is, you need to establish what your expectations are. So determine what you're looking for. Are you looking for funds, or are you looking for product? Are you willing to accept product in exchange for representation? Is the product a product that you want to stand behind? The thing with Impact is that you guys do a fantastic product at a fantastic price, so it's something that I can stand behind. There have been times, like, for example, I had a company reach out to me, a soap company, and they were offering me sponsorship. And I said, okay, send me a couple bars of your soap. I'll check it out. If I like it, I'll go ahead and we can talk about sponsorship details. They never sent me the bar of soap, so I ended the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna stand behind a product I don't believe in. I feel like sometimes people just want the title of being sponsored. We saw that with a company called Breakpoint. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Breakpoint, but they basically did like a pyramid scheme where they were like, "Oh, you're a official Breakpoint brand ambassador." Initially, they were calling them sponsored athletes, but you had guys like me, Jeff Glover, a couple other people that were like calling them out for that. The reality was, all they were doing, they were offering people a 15% discount off the gear, and they were calling it a sponsorship. Yes, if that's what you want to call a sponsorship, cool. And they were sponsoring anyone that would send in an email. So, like, one time, just for giggles, I sent in an email, as a chair. I was like, this is a chair. I want sponsorship for my chair, and they approved it, quote unquote. It's you gotta question what it is that you're actually doing. Like, why do you want to be sponsored?
Right. And once you make that decision, how do you keep the sponsorship once you make a relationship go?
I mean, I do my best to represent the product and represent the company as well as I can. Sponsors that are providing, the more service or the more, I guess, the more that I receive from the company, the more representation the company is going to receive. It's like, it depends on what the sponsor's asking of you. I would tell people to always establish expectations up front. And if your expectations are not being met, remember, this is a business transaction. So, like, for example, one of my early sponsors was Valor Fightwear USA. And the reason that I asked Valor to sponsor me was because the fact that I really liked their product and I liked the company. And I worked with them for a couple of years, and then it got to a point where I kind of outgrew what they could offer me. It got to a point where free gis was not sufficient to justify free exposure and free free representation. And so I reached out to the owner of the brand. I said, hey, can you offer me more? And he said, no, I can't. And I said, well, I really appreciate that, everything, and sorry, but I got to move on. And we're still friends. We're, nothing. It's not personal. It's business.
Sure. Now, you've been with us a long time, and it's been a great relationship. From our perspective, and I'm sure from your perspective, you want a company, and we want athletes that do everything that they say they're going to do, and maybe even more from both sides. And that's what's been so wonderful of doing business with you, is that you certainly do the promotion, and you put in the work. How much time a week do you think you're working for your sponsors? Do you have any idea?
I mean, I train 2 hours a day, so I consider that to be work for my sponsors, because the reality is that there's no better work than going out there, winning championships, and having your patch on my stuff, or having your logo across my teeth.
Sure.
So I mean that there's that, right? But as far as, I try to make it at minimum one post on social media every day, and I try to do, one or two sponsor focused posts as the opportunities arise. Like, if I'm training and I'm wearing an Impact mouthguard, I might take a selfie after training and be like, thanks for the sweet mouthguard Impact, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you want to be blasting the brand out into social media so that people become aware of its existence.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for that. We always see your posts coming through. It's always pretty solid content. And that means the world to us. That's something that's really big for us. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So what's your plan now for the balance of the year? What are you going to do and try and do? And what do you think next year is going to bring? Will we be back to normal?
Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. In the meantime, let's just talk about the.
Sorry about that. So my plan for the balance of the year my plan for the balance of the year at this point is to continue to compete, to continue to do whatever I can to get out there in competition. I want to do the ADCC trials. That's something that I've been planning on doing. Depending on what happens with COVID, I may try to do Nogi Worlds if it happens later in the year. But that's very much conditional upon COVID having, or the world having a better handle on COVID. So I mean, there's that. ADCC trials is a big one. I'd like to try to defend my Fight to Win Masters belt, or capture the Fight to Win gi Masters belt. I would also like to, if I'm able to, take another shot at the adult belt. I I know that I lost my most recent shot at that, but I feel like I have what it takes to win that, and it was a strategical error that caused me to lose the match, rather than technical deficiency.
That's how you learn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Emil, we know you're at work, and we really appreciate you joining us and having a quick conversation with us. But before we go, just one last thing. Where can the listeners find you? How can they see you on social media or follow your journey?
So I have a Instagram page at Emil Fisher BJJ. I have a Facebook athlete page at Emil Fisher BJJ. Right now, my biggest one of my bigger focuses is making people aware of the problematic nature of the current media structure in our sport, specifically the importance and power that has been given to flow grappling. That's a little soapbox that I've been on the last couple of weeks here. For anybody who doesn't know, flow grappling is the website that hosts the majority of the content of the sport, and they tend to do a pretty poor job of both athlete promotion as well as customer relations. So that's something that I've been on the last couple of weeks.
And so is there an alternative, or you're just trying to get them to change some of their ways?
I think that there are alternatives, plural. However, those alternatives require support. So you've got, the best alternatives right now, in my opinion. There's a bunch of smaller events that are popping up. Support those if you have an opportunity to. If you can buy a ticket and go to one of those, do it. If you watch one of them, they often have quote unquote virtual tip jars. Cancel your flow grappling subscription, throw that money in a virtual tip jar. That's what's going on right now. We'll see if a company comes out of the woodwork. But for right now, I'd tell you that that's the way to go about it.
Well, we'll get all of Emil's links in the video, and we'll send people your way so that you can keep talking about what's important to you.
Awesome.
Yeah. Emil, from the bottom of my heart, the last 4 or 5 years together, I want to thank you, and I'm looking forward to the next 4 or 5 years together.
For sure.
So, thank you, Emil.
We'll be in touch soon.
Have a good night.